Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to be talking about functions. Now, functions, when we think about the word functions, we think about a relationship. And you may have already thought about the relationship between terms when you're talking about sequences, both geometric and arithmetic. But now we're going to talk about functions with regards to our foldable notes. Now, if you take a look at your light green foldable, you'll open it up and the top side will look like this. You'll notice that you've got 4 different sections. You've got your words, you've got your rule, you've got your table, and you've got your graph. Now when we complete this foldable, or when we think about the relationship between words, rules, tables, and graphs, in this case we're going to go from left to right, in the sense that we know that we've got a statement here. We've got our words that we have to translate. You've already practiced translating. We're going to translate these words. Sometimes it'll be a story like this, or sometimes it may be something like 3 plus a number equals 7. You've got your rule, which is your expression. Then you're going to pick some x values and you're going to substitute in and get y values into your table, and then you're going to plot those points on a graph using the different coordinates, with your x being the first number of your coordinate and the y being the first number of your coordinate. Now you're going to get some practice a little later, but right now we just wanted you to get these notes down. So let's first look at our relationship between words and rules. So if we look at this problem, 4 more than a third of Omar's songs on his iPod are in his favorite playlist. Let's break this down and translate this into an equation. So first we've got 4 more than. So we translate above the statement. We have 4 more than. Now this than, remember, than from 2, got a switcheroo. Then we have 1/3. Remember, 1/3 is a fraction. That word of is multiplication. And then we don't know how many songs are on Omar's iPod, So we're going to use Omar's song as our variable. Now if we translate that into an equation, that would look like 1/3 x plus 4 equals y, where x is Omar's songs and y is in his favorites. So go ahead and write this down, making sure that you have translated above the statement and you've written down the rule, clarifying what the different variables mean. You can pause the video now if you'd like. Now at this point, you should have written down your rule, and now we're going to talk about how to get from our rule to our table. Now when we think about our table, we're going to have to pick values for x. You can pick any 3 values on your coordinate plane, but a lot of times it's helpful to pick 3 values that give you a good idea of what this equation really looks like. So a lot of times we want to pick a negative value, 0, because usually 0 is very easy to substitute into the equation, and then a positive value. So here you can see we've picked -3, 0, and +3. And when we substitute each one of those values in for x and evaluate the statement, we end up getting, when we plug -3 in and evaluate, we get that y equals 3. When we substitute 0 in, we get that y equals 4, because 1/3 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 4 is 4. And then lastly, when we substitute 3 in, 1/3 times 3 is 1. 1 plus 4 is 5. Make sure you have this written down. Remember, you can always pause the video and go back if you need help, or raise your hand and ask your teacher. Now the last thing that we have to do is we need to go from our table here to our graph. Now you've been graphing points since 5th grade. If you need a little bit of a refresher on how to plot points, that'll be an activity later on. So when you're plotting points, remember x is the first way that you'll plot, you'll go across first, and then you'll go up and down. So you'll go horizontal first. Remember, this is your x-axis here. And then you'll go vertical. It's your y-axis is the one that goes up and down. Your x-axis goes left to right. Your y-axis goes up and down. Now remember, when you're plotting these points, you're always going to go x and then y. So your first point, -3, 3, means we're going to go left 3 and then up 3. So this point would be right here. Our next point would be, let's go back to the 0, and then from the 0 we'll go up 4, so that's our second point here. And then our final point is we're going to go 3, 5, we'll go right 3, and then up 5. So it would be here. Now once we have these 3 points, you'll then connect them with a line. Once you've got a line, you've successfully gone from words to rules to tables to graphs. Now, if we go back to our foldable, there we go. Now, if we go back to our foldable, sometimes you'll only be given the rule, which means that you will then have to go from the rule to the table to the graph. Now, if you're just given the words, you can't skip all the way to graph. You can't skip steps in between. It makes it very complicated on you. So, once again, if you are given the words, you would have to translate into a rule. Then you would have to create your table. Then you make your graph. So once again, you don't want to skip straight from words all the way to graphs. You want to go back and you want to go words to rules, rules to table, table to graph. Likewise, if you're only given the rule, you'll want to go rules to table, table to graph. And if you're given just the table, you can go table to graph. We're going to talk about how to go from graphs to words during another session. Thanks for watching.